All right, so today we are diving into a YouTube video, and honestly, it really got me thinking. It's called Why Let a Single Dream Define Your Life, and it's from this channel called Brit.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and you know how, we're always told to go after our dreams and, never give up?
Yeah, for sure.
Well, this video asks, what if that whole idea is actually kind of a trap?
Okay, I'm intrigued.
Yeah, and it even brings in, the philosophy of Jean-Paul Sartre to explore this, which I thought was really cool. What do you think about that?
Well, I know a little bit about Sartre. He was all about, radical freedom, right? The idea that we're always choosing who we are and what we want to do.
Yeah, exactly. But then he also talked about this thing called bad faith.
Right, bad faith. That's where we, get stuck in a role or a certain ambition, and we start to think that our entire worth depends on being successful at that one thing.
So it's like we're almost playing a character instead of just living authentically.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. And the video gives some examples of this, like an artist who's, totally fixated on becoming famous, or an entrepreneur who, their whole identity is wrapped up in their business.
And they're terrified of failing, not just because it would be a setback, but because they think it means they're not good enough as a person.
Exactly. Their worth as a human being is on the line.
Wow, that's a lot of pressure. Have you ever felt that kind of pressure, in your own life?
Oh, definitely. I think it's really easy to fall into that trap, especially in today's world. We're constantly bombarded with messages about achievement and success.
It's like you have to be the best, have the most, achieve all these things, or you're somehow less than.
Right. But what I find so interesting about Sartre's idea is that it kind of flips that whole script. He's saying that real meaning comes from the choices we make and the actions we take, not just from, whether we succeed or fail in some big way.
So instead of being defined by a single dream, we should focus on living authentically and making choices that feel right for us.
Yeah, and the video takes this even further and talks about how we should think about our dreams. Instead of seeing them as fixed destinations, they become more adaptable guides.
Guides that change as we change.
Exactly. It's imagine a river, right? It flows and meanders, it merges with other rivers, and sometimes it even changes course completely.
Okay, I like that analogy. But how do we actually live that way in the real world? The world is obsessed with achievements and external validation.
True. It's so easy to get caught up in what other people think and to tie our self-worth to those external markers of success.
It's everyone's telling you, you got to hustle, you got to achieve, look at all the amazing things I'm doing. And you start to feel like you're not doing enough if you're not constantly striving for something.
Right. And the video acknowledges that. It's not like it's saying, just ignore all that and live in a bubble.
Mm-hmm.
But it does suggest that true fulfillment doesn't just come from hitting a specific goal. It comes from the resilience and adaptability we develop along the way, the stuff we learn from facing challenges and, figuring things out.
So it's more about the journey than the destination.
Yeah, and it's about defining worth on your own term, not based on what society tells you is valuable.
So it's not about giving up ambition altogether, but about expanding our definition of what it means to be ambitious.
Exactly. It's about finding worth in the journey itself, in the choices you make, and the growth you experience.
I have to say, this is already making me think differently about my own goals. It's a little unsettling, honestly.
Oh, I get that. It can be kind of scary to question these big ideas that we've, been taught our whole lives.
It's like a whole new way of looking at things. But I don't know, there's also something exciting about it.
Yeah, I think that's the beauty of this whole concept. It pushes us to question our assumptions and consider new possibilities. And actually, the video goes even further than this and starts talking about the beauty of uncertainty.
Before we get to uncertainty, there's something else that really struck me from the first part of it. It talked about how, when we're so focused on this one big goal, we can actually miss out on all these other cool opportunities and experiences.
Yeah, it's we're so busy looking ahead at the destination that we forget to, enjoy the journey itself.
And we miss all the scenery and the unexpected detours and those chance encounters that make life so interesting.
Right, exactly.
And it made me think about the difference between intrinsic and extrinsic motivation, which the video touches on too. Are we doing things because we genuinely love them, or are we just chasing those external rewards?
That is such a huge distinction, I think. When we're just focused on a dream that's driven by extrinsic motivation, like fame or fortune or whatever it might be,
yeah,
we risk losing sight of all those intrinsic rewards that actually make life fulfilling. The joy of the process, the satisfaction of growing the connection to something bigger than ourselves.
Yeah, like you were saying before about the artist who's so fixated on fame, they might totally lose that pure joy of just creating art.
Exactly. And that ties into the whole idea of authenticity too, Like if we're constantly evolving, shouldn't our dreams evolve with us?
Right, because what felt super meaningful to us 5 years ago might not even resonate with who we are today.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's actually okay to change our minds, to say, this dream doesn't really fit me anymore.
Totally.
And letting go can be a sign of strength, not weakness, because it frees us up to pursue something that feels more authentic.
Absolutely. And the video suggests that this willingness to adapt is actually like the key to staying true to ourselves, even if it means, going off the path we thought we were supposed to be on.
Okay, this all sounds great in theory, but how do we actually do that? We live in a world that's constantly telling us to hustle and achieve and measure our worth by all these external markers of success.
It's true. It's a huge challenge.
How do we actually separate our sense of self from all those pressures?
Well, the video offers a really powerful counterpoint to all of that. And it's the idea that our worth is inherent,
Yeah.
It's not something we earn or have to prove.
Just a part of who we are.
Exactly. You're already enough just by being you. Your worth isn't contingent on achieving any specific goal or reaching a certain level of success.
Okay, that's a really reassuring thought, actually.
Right. And what really resonated with me is how the video encourages us to embrace our imperfections, our flaws, even our failures, not as evidence that we're inadequate, but as opportunities for growth and learning.
So instead of striving for some unattainable standard of perfection, we can focus on becoming our most authentic selves, flaws and all.
Exactly. And in doing so, we open ourselves up to a much deeper, more genuine kind of fulfillment, one that's not dependent on, external validation, but on inner peace and alignment with our value.
Okay, so we've talked about some of the potential downsides of being fixated on a single dream, but I'm curious, does the video offer any benefit to this more adaptable approach?
It does, yeah. And one of the key benefits it highlights is resilience.
Yeah.
When we're not rigidly attached to one specific outcome, we're much better equipped to handle those inevitable setbacks and disappointments that life throws at us.
Yeah, makes sense.
Like if your entire sense of self-worth is tied to achieving this one goal and then it doesn't work out, that can be totally devastating.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
But with a more flexible mindset, we can view those setbacks as, opportunities to learn and adjust our course.
It's like that saying, sometimes you win, sometimes you learn.
Right, exactly. And this adaptability, as the video points out, can also lead to greater creativity and innovation. When we're not so afraid to experiment and let go of what's not working anymore, we open ourselves up to a whole world of possibilities.
So instead of being limited by this narrow definition of success, we can develop a more multifaceted sense of purpose.
Exactly. One that encompasses all aspects of our lives.
Yeah. And that allows us to find joy and satisfaction, not just in achieving specific goals, but in the journey itself, the connections we make, the contributions we offer, and just the constant growth we experience as human beings. This is all so incredibly insightful, but it does raise the question of how do we cultivate this adaptable mindset in a practical sense? How do we actually loosen our grip on those rigid dreams and embrace a more fluid approach to life?
Well, that's where the video gets really interesting because it actually offers some concrete strategies for developing this flexibility. And we're going to dive into those in the last part of our deep dive.
So we've talked about all the benefits of, having these adaptable dreams, but how do we actually make that happen? What are some real things we can do to actually shift our mindset?
Yeah, that's where the video gets really practical, which I appreciated. And it starts with self-reflection. Really taking the time to ask yourself some hard questions.
What am I doing with my life kind of question?
Well, maybe not that dramatic, but, more like what really motivates me deep down? Are the goals I'm chasing right now still aligned with my values? What actually brings me joy and a sense of purpose? That kind of thing.
So it's about making sure we're on a path that feels right, authentic to us, not just something we're doing because we think we should or because someone else told us to.
Exactly, yeah. And the video actually suggests journaling as a good tool for that kind of reflection. It can help you, process your thoughts and feelings and get clear on your values. Sometimes it can even help you uncover those limiting beliefs that might be holding you back without you even realizing it.
Journaling is something I've always meant to do more consistently. I can definitely see how it would be helpful for this kind of deep dive into your own emotions.
For sure. And then beyond journaling, the video also encourages experimentation, stepping outside your comforts, trying new things, just seeing what resonates, without putting all this pressure on yourself to achieve some specific outcome.
That's a good point. It's like giving yourself permission to just play and explore. And like you said earlier, maybe even rediscovering those things that give you that intrinsic motivation.
Yeah, totally. And that kind of ties into another strategy, which is viewing failure as a learning experience. Setbacks are going to happen. It's just part of life, but they don't have to define us. Instead of seeing them as roadblocks, we can choose to see them as valuable feedback.
It's like shifting from, oh, I failed to, okay, I learned something here. How can I use this to move forward?
Exactly. And that leads right into cultivating a growth mindset.
Which basically means embracing challenges, seeking feedback, always trying to learn and improve.
Right. It's about seeing your ability as something you can develop, not just these fixed traits that you're stuck.
So change becomes less scary and more like an opportunity to grow.
Yeah, exactly. But beyond all these individual strategies, I think the most powerful takeaway from the video for me was the idea of this broader fulfillment. It's not just about that one big goal. It's about creating a life that's rich in meaning and purpose in multiple ways.
So it's like having a more diversified portfolio of fulfillment.
I like that. Yeah, it's about actively nurturing those areas of your life that bring you joy, like your relationships, your contributions to the world, your personal growth, even your connection to something bigger than yourself, whatever that might be.
That's a great way to put it. It's like a recipe for a well-rounded life, not just this laser focus on one's achievement.
And the best part is it's available to everyone, regardless of your circumstances or your achievements. It's about making those daily choices that align with your values and building a life that feels truly your own.
Honestly, this whole conversation has been super eye-opening for me. I'm walking away with a lot to think about, and maybe I'll even do some journaling.
Me too. It's amazing how much a single YouTube video can, spark such a profound shift in perspective.
I know, right?
And I think that's a great takeaway for our listeners, too.
If you had to leave our listeners with one question to ponder, what would it be?
That's a good one. I think I would ask, if you were truly free to redefine your life and your self-worth, how would you choose to live? What brings you joy? What makes you feel truly alive? What kind of legacy do you want to create in the world?
Those are some really powerful questions. This whole deep dive has been such a great invitation to embrace uncertainty and create a life that feels both meaningful and fulfilling. Thanks for joining us on this journey. Until next time.